Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Truth Speaks. My name is Jasmine.
Erica Danielle.
And today we're coming at you guys with another exciting topic. Today's topic is going to be the fruits of your labor and how to prioritize your time and how to prioritize your walk with the Lord so that you can actually see the fruits of your labor. Erica, what do you have to say on this topic?
Well, first I just want to say that oftentimes we hear fruits of your labor and we're automatically thinking like, what am I getting for what I'm doing? And I mean, yeah, okay, that's it. But really your fruit is what you're producing. And what I'm saying is like, we think about that and we think like, okay, I go to work and then I get paid. That me getting paid and being able to pay my bills, or me being able to purchase a home or have a nice car or something like that. We think like that, like that's the fruits of your labor. But what me and Justin want to talk about is bigger than that. Everything produces fruit in your life. Everything that you do produces some sort of fruit in your life. The things that you experience in life oftentimes produces a fruit. And those are the things that we want to kind of hone in on and start paying attention to. So we were having this wonderful conversation, as we do, the other day, and we were just talking about, different things that we do or whatever. And Jasmine had some very strong opinions about elevating your mind or the lack thereof, right? So we're talking about how, sometimes we're doing different things. Really what we were talking about was mindless activity, right? Mm-hmm. All of us pretty much do it. I don't personally know a person who is just on productive mode 24 hours a day where everything they do is productive. Most of us have some type of go-to, some type of place of escape, some type of relief factor, whether it's maybe you're a TV watcher. I like to listen to music, and I have a strong addiction to tune blasts on my phone. So like I'll be listening to music and playing tune blasts on my phone or something like that. Jasmine likes to read. And
mindless, also let me interject, and I love blog sites. I've been on blog sites for like years. Like my favorite, and then I get hooked on certain ones. So right now, my favorite is Lipstick Alley. I go to anybody who knows me, I'm like, get on Lipstick Alley and read the foolishness on Lipstick Alley. And it is completely you're not producing anything on Lipstick Alley, let me tell you that, but go on.
So I was just saying that, there's different things that are, produce fruit, going back to the fruits of your labor, and Jasmine having her strong opinion on mindless activity, which is how we got to this topic, because we were saying that basically, everybody has mindless activity. Some people feel strongly about other people's mindless activity. Some people have strong opinions about other people's mindless activity. So me and her were just talking about that, and then it came up that, the mindless activity itself is okay, depending on where it is in your list of priorities, because the mindless activity is going to produce fruit as well. I think the biggest one, and this is just my opinion, if mindless activity is top on your list, to me, the thing that's going to come from that is probably laziness. Like, you're not going to end up doing anything. So that's just an example of what activity and the fruit of that activity. So it led us down this conversation, or down this path, just talking about, how what we do produces fruit. And then we started going into how sometimes we have things that we do that people are, or we look to seek God for deliverance from. And that took a very interesting spin, which we are going to wrap back around to that. But fruits of your labor.
I think a lot of times what happens is, like she said, everybody has their own mindless activity or their own escape, because the bottom line is this: we live here in this world. We all want to be those of us who are calling ourselves believers, and those of us who call ourselves walking with the Lord, who have established a relationship with the Lord, we all want to call ourselves, so elevated, so spiritual, so this and that. But nobody is elevated or in the spirit realm 24/7 because you just can't. And the bottom line is, if you were in the spirit realm 24/7, he can't use you down here on earth. So what you have to look at is, what are you producing outside of that? So what happened was, I had got into it with my husband about his mindless activity, and I'm just like, aren't you need to be elevating your mind. You need to be doing something else. Mind you, like I said, we both have different vices, but his point was, if you take a look at what I've been doing within the past 6 months, I have produced, or our life has gotten better, or we've elevated in a different at a different level. And that is true. And so the key is, it's how you prioritize, because we all do mindless stuff, and one mindless activity isn't better than another mindless activity. So it is, what are you producing? What are you getting out of? Where is your walk? Because if you have a walk with God and you're walking with him and you are in communion with him daily, you'll produce something. So last week we asked you guys to take a look at, evaluate your life within the past 5 years. And we asked you to see where you were at and if you've grown. This is a key component with that, because that topic was submitting your will. Well, part of your submitting, when you submit your will, you are going to produce something if you submit your will to him. So this is the same thing. What are you doing with your life? Like, if you are constantly doing mindless stuff, you can't have a relationship with him, because it's where your focus is at. Where are you at with your focus? What are you prioritizing? Is your walk with the Lord your top priority? And that'll go into what you're producing, which will segue into what we're discussing.
Which, and don't be confused that everything that you produce is not going to be something that's tangible. It's not going to be something that, it's not necessarily something like you attaining something, or you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I'll give myself as a great example, because I love to give myself as great examples. No, but seriously, so one of the biggest things with me, for some people that may have who may really know me, I used to be like an extremely irritable person, right? Extremely irritable. Like, any little thing would everything got on my nerves. A lot of stuff gets on my nerves still to this day, but not like that. And I just felt like I was almost like walking around like a ticking time bomb. Like, I didn't want you saying nothing to me. I probably wasn't going to like what you said or whatever. So over the years of just developing and establishing a relationship with God, that is one of the biggest things that he has worked on with me, is like temperament, how I respond to stuff, being angry and stuff like that. So me no longer being that irritable, or me no longer flying off the top whenever somebody says something to me, would be it'll be a product of our relationship. So oftentimes that's what happens, right? So it's not, like I said, it's not something always tangible or whatever. But as you're walking with God and you're developing your relationship, there's going to be things. I mean, we know he does like a work in you. And there's going to be things that you'll be able to see, which is your fruit. And don't give me the line. I want to list the fruit of the Spirit so bad, but I just don't know them all off the top of my head. Do you? I know it's like long-suffering, patience. Is love the fruit of the Spirit? It got to be, right?
Yeah, that's the number one commandment.
Okay.
Love your neighbor.
Long-suffering, patience.
I actually don't know the fruits of I don't know them.
Or just something like gentle.
Yeah,
but those would be things that you see, and you'll probably recognize it in yourself probably before anybody else does. I think those are probably fruits that you'll notice before you start seeing other things. The problem is, like, going back to the mindless behavior, and the reason why that was the thing that we started off with is because that's how, for us, where this conversation stemmed from. The problem with the mindless behavior is, if that is a priority, you're not going to get any growth, and you're not going to get any type of elevation, like Jasmine said, from that. You're not developing when you're consumed with mindless behavior. That's why Jasmine's saying, like, your number one priority should be your walk in your relationship with the Most High. Not to say that that is a space that you don't have to walk around trying to be so overly spiritual all the time. Or like Jasmine said, first of all, it's very, very hard to stay in that space. I mean, if we're just being real, it's work to get there and it's work to stay there. You know what I mean? And most of us are not in that space all the time. So there's going to be times when you have to release and get away, and that's fine. But what you don't want is your relationship with God falling down to your fifth priority, and then you're producing fruit of yourself, which goes back to like the submitting your will conversation. If it's all you, that's all your fruit. You're not producing any fruit of the Spirit. And what God wants us to do, we are supposed to be reflecting Him, right? The Bible talks to us about renewing our mind, and He's transforming us into the image and the likeness of His Son. But we can't be a reflection of the Most High. We can't be a reflection of the Messiah if there's no development in us where we're now starting to produce the fruit of the Spirit. If all of our fruit is just of self.
That's absolutely true. And I think that's mainly when we say fruits of our labor, that's really what we're talking about. We're not in mindless activity. The takeaway from all of this is really like prioritizing your life, because in order to have growth, you have to prioritize. You just can't be like, I'm gonna grow, then don't prioritize what it is. You have to have what it is you want to grow in. You know what areas, because we all know that there's areas in our life that we're lacking in. You know, like I think the biggest thing that I have that I know that is an area I need to grow in is gossip. That is my mindless activity is gossip, like celebrity gossip. I want to gossip with other people about other stuff, and so that's like my own like personal thing that I have to work on is gossiping. So if I'm like, I want to grow, I need to be able to identify what it is that I need to grow in or grow from, or, you know, what I'm trying to grow. Two, you have to prioritize. So what is it that is keeping you in that space? Is it that you are working too much? Is it because you're not dedicating any time to your word or to the Bible? Is it because of the conversations you're entertaining? Are you, reading books, or just what is it that's keeping you in that area to where you can't grow? And then the next thing you have to do is try to make a plan on how to grow. Like write down some steps. Okay, if I know that gossip is a problem for me, maybe I should not watch entertainment tonight.
Or limit your celebrity gossip hour.
Yeah, like nobody's saying you have to be perfect and you have to stop right away. But
it's
like
unrealistic.
It isn't. But if you want to produce stuff, so like if you're constantly consumed with gossip in other people's life, and then you take a look at your life and it's like, dang, I'm not getting nowhere or whatever. It's because you're not focusing on yourself, because you're too busy focused on other people. And we can take that and apply that to an array of things that people deal with. And it's like people want to grow, they want to produce fruit. And let me tell you, you can produce bad fruit.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Fruit is being produced regardless.
So if you're constantly being nosy, being in other people's business, being a gossip monger, guess what? Most of the fruit in your life is probably going to be negative. You're always going to be involved in negative conversations. Not always. I mean, the conversation may be positive, but typically if you gossip a lot, it's going to be a lot of negative conversations, which means that you're going to have a lot of negative energy and all that kind of stuff. And it can go into a bunch of different stuff. And we're using this because this is a really benign thing. But people have other issues that they're dealing with that are deeper than just gossip. And it's like, what are you producing? Because it's what you're attracted to and what you gravitate toward, that's what you're going to produce. So if everything you're gravitating towards is negative, mindless, there's really no gain out of it, that's what you're going to produce. If you prioritize a relationship with the Lord, growth with that, then you'll produce positive things. You'll produce like promotions at your job. You'll produce having peace in your home, because peace is a major thing.
Spiritual maturity.
Right.
Natural maturity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just going to be different. It's different things. Like, you may have to look at your life it may have to look at, you may recognize the fruit before you recognize where it's stemming from. If you're stagnant, it's because I think that's the big thing that stands out to people. I'm not growing, which we're talking about. I'm not getting any further. I'm repeating the same cycles, the same relationships, different faces. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same things over and over. There's something that's hindering me, and I recognize that. I have to be able to recognize that first. Then you're like, oh, well, maybe I haven't been able to focus on my life. Going back into Jasmine, just in general, is because I'm too focused with what's going on in other people's lives. You know what I mean? So the fruit that is being produced is that lack of focus is leading to stagnation. Like, you get what I'm saying? So you may have to just look around, like Jasmine was saying in the last video. Just do an inventory of what's going on in your life, what's happening, or what do you have. And I don't, like, again, I'm not just talking about like houses and cars and things of that nature or whatever, or the lack thereof. Whatever you're lacking, what am I lacking, and what do I have an overabundance of? Am I always angry and I have very little joy? You know what I mean? Am I always in turmoil and I have very little peace? Where is this stemming from? What is the root cause of this? Because then you can go to the Father, going back to your relationship, because everything is about relationship with God. Go to the Father and you say, God, I recognize I'm always in this state of turmoil. Help me get some type of understanding. Help me locate what is the root issue. And then from there, God will begin to show you things. He'll begin to show you, well, you spend a lot of time doing this, or you got this going on in your life, and this is what's causing this. Recognize also everything he's not going to just remove from you. He's not going to just deliver you from. There is work on your end as well. You're going to have to, I was saying to Jasmine, there are some things that we can pray away, and there are some things that we have to put away ourselves. We have to do the work ourselves. God is an awesome God, he is, but he doesn't do everything for us. It doesn't work that way.
It goes into our whole free will thing. Free will, we have free will. God gives us free will. He will help us. He's a loving God. He's gonna assist us. But sometimes your free will, the free will is you having some self-control. Like, control yourself. Like, if you know, like, I'll use me as an example, that I gossip too much or I'm too involved in other people, I have to say, you know what? I'm not even going to entertain this conversation. I don't need to pray to God to tell me, God, close my ears. I don't need to hear this. If you know that there's certain people that you talk to that bring up conversations you don't need to hear, don't talk to them. You know what I mean? Or like with me, I won't turn on ET. I don't watch Entertainment Tonight for the sole reason that I get too sucked in. I'll watch 1 hour of ET, then I'm on the Kardashians and all that all that other nonsense that does not benefit me at all. But I know, and Erica will tell you this, I've always been like a gossip person when it comes to celebrities. I love being into celebrities' business. I have to even say I'm gonna fast from like blogging, because that's an issue with me. That's a self-control issue with me. God is not gonna deliver me from that. I have to turn off the TV, put down my phone, get off the computer. Like, these are things I have to do, because he's not gonna, there's like, I already know he already identified the problem. I already have a relationship with him. He's already told me, get off of what he's gonna do. Yeah, get off of your phone. That's the answer. And sometimes it's really back into producing fruit and stuff like that. People will be like, I'm not producing anything, I've been praying or whatever. And it's like, there's really nothing God needs to do in this case. This is a you thing. Like, you need to walk this out. You need to back away if, like, you have a problem with eating certain type of foods or whatever, and you want God to deliver you from that. Okay. The deliverance is back away. Put the fork down. That's deliverance.
Stop eating.
Don't buy any cookies. like people, they do recognize that they have a problem and they recognize that they need to produce something, but they don't want to do any work. Like God, his deliverance is telling you what the issue is, working on you, but you have to do something. If that's your issue, maybe you need to just back away from that thing and just, move forward.
Find something else to supplement it with. God is probably a good supplication.
Read your word, or do things like that to occupy your time. And I'm gonna tell you guys, even with my own personal world, I had to literally do that. At one point in my life, I was too consumed, and I'm still pretty consumed with it. Don't let me get on here in front, I'm still pretty consumed. But that was all I ever ingested was celebrity crap. And then I looked around and my life was ridiculous. I was always getting in arguments with people. I was always meddling in mess and all that kind of stuff. And I used to buy all the U.S. weeklies and all those magazines. Remember when I used to do that? I would buy them and all that kind of stuff.
Do you remember that the Lord told her that she opened her spirit up to too much stuff?
And I did.
It affects you. It affects you.
And so I don't watch Entertainment Tonight anymore. I don't buy any of those magazines. It's really hard sometimes because I'll be like, ooh, what's going on with Prince Harry and Meghan? Let me see. Let me find out. But it doesn't benefit me. And so the key is to walk past the magazine. That's my deliverance. Okay, let me just walk past this. Sometimes you have to have some self-control. And then once you start exercising self-control, you will see different things being produced in your life.
And then from there, like she said, she's still not too far removed. However, it's a different priority now. So it's still something that you're still able to do. We're not saying that, you can't have fun, and because I know that's a big misconception with the Christian walk and walking with God. You can't do nothing. That's not the case at all whatsoever. All we're saying is take a look at your life. Take a look at what you have produced in your life, and what did we name this video again?
Truth Talks.
No, the fruit of your labor.
Oh, that's the episode topic.
Yeah, just look at the fruit in your life. What has been produced, and again, sometimes it's not. Let me just make this really quick because we're about to wrap this up. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, sometimes that it's not tangible things as far as what you're lacking and stuff like that. Sometimes your fruit is produced because you're just mean and nasty. Maybe the fruit that's being produced that you're not liking, the relationships that you have, the things that are happening to you. Maybe you need to check your heart, because sometimes it's not just maybe an activity is basically what I'm saying. Sometimes it's just your heart condition or your heart posture, and that produces fruit as well. Because that is still fruit of the Spirit. It ain't God's Spirit, but it's still fruit of the Spirit, So we're basically just encouraging you to
prioritize your life.
Prioritize your life so you can
if you really want real growth, if you really want to get to the next level, which people always say that's what they want, they're trying to get to that next level or whatever. And then they look around, but they don't make any real progress. And it's because they haven't prioritized what needs to be done. And a lot of times people look at it from a natural state. They're like, okay, I'm going to get more education. And education does help you produce fruit in the tangible sense. You need that education. But have you ever noticed that when you look at people and it looks like they have everything together in one area, in their work area. But then you take a look at their relationships, and their relationships are jacked up. Or they have awesome relationships, but they can't get a job. Or just you may be one of those people. You're looking and you're dang, I have everything going on in my career and all that, but I can't seem to get it right in my relationship. Well, it's probably how you're prioritizing things and what you focus on. So if that's what you want to do, you have to prioritize your life so that you can maximize your growth. And the number one way to do that, because this is Truth Speaks, and we're here to tell you about the Most High, is to cultivate a relationship with the Most High. He will assist you. He will give you all the tools that you need to get to the next level in your life. So what we're saying is, those of us who are believers or whatever, we've always heard, you know the tree by their fruit or whatever. So what are you producing? If you want to grow, take a look at your life. You know, take an inventory of your life.
Of yourself.
Your life, yourself. What do you prioritize? Where are the areas that you want growth? And what have you done to do that growth? And what have you done to even assist yourself? And last but not least, have you reached out? Have you called out to the Lord to assist you?
I was gonna say that's the key component in all of this. Really, you're taking the inventory. You're looking at self. You're looking at your life, and everything is not negative. You might be great in one area and lacking in the other, like she was saying. But then that's when you're linking up with God, and you're saying, "Okay, yeah, I need you to show me what is the root cause of this. Where is this mess? I see the mess maybe, or it may not even be mess. I see where I'm stagnant, or I'm actually cool right here, but I want to go a little further. What are the hindrances? What are the things? What is the root cause? And how can we work on this? I'm going to need your help," or whatever the case may be. And then you walk it out from there.
All right,
That's
guys.
That's all I got.
That's all I got too. This has been another topic, another episode of Truth Speak. Again, take an inventory of your life and see where you've gone and see where you've grown in the last 5 years, and take the necessary steps to prioritize your life so that you can elevate yourself
and produce great fruit.
Good fruit.
Be blessed.
Bye.